Today I'm going to show you how to create this cinematic Lightroom preset. So I'm going to walk you through the beginning and show you how it's done. First thing we want to do is we want to come up to the color temperature and we want to warm this up just to give it a bit of punch. And then what we're going to do is actually bring the exposure down quite a bit. So I'm going to go nearly 2 stops under expose. And this is just going to help us create a bit more of a moody atmosphere. And then I'm going to counterbalance that with some contrast. I'm going to push that up to 61, and that's just going to give us some more punch. And then we're just going to need to play with the shadows and the highlights just to bring back some normality, because we don't want it too dark, otherwise it would just look a little bit odd. So let's just bring that up to around plus 36, and then the shadows, I'm going to push them up to around there, which is about 75, 76, around that mark. And let's bring the whites up as well, so plus 33 for them, and then let's just bring the blacks back in a little bit just to give it a little bit more punch. So around 26 is quite good there. That's just giving us a really high contrasting image, and then we can correct that later on. So let's come to the clarity and just bring that to minus 20 just to soften the edges a little bit, and let's just push the dehaze up a couple of stops as well. There we go. So next up we want to look at the vibrance and saturation. So let's bring the saturation down to around minus 10, minus 12, around that mark, and let's push the vibrance up a little bit just to punch some colors through. And you can see there we're getting quite a unique look. If we look at the before and after already, you can see what we're doing there. We're just bringing out some of these warm tones and flattening everything else. So on the tone curve, we want to select the first one. I'm going to crunch the whites a little bit, so I'm just going to pull them down. I'm going to click in the middle and just bring that middle section back in, and then down at the bottom here, I'm just going to click and push up just to bring out some detail, and then blacks again. So around there is pretty good. Let's come to the red channel. So I'm going to click in the middle and just drag that up a little bit just to add some red in there. And then just take that red out of the black areas there, so pull that in a little bit. It just gives it a little bit of a warmer feel. And moving on to the green channel, I'm just going to target the middle section here, and I'm just going to push that up slightly just to add a little bit of green into the midtones there. So it's only very, very minute, just to give it, you can see the curve is just bowing a little bit. And then moving on to the blue and yellow channel, I'm going to do the opposite with this one. So I'm going to click around here, which is the sort of grey coming into the black areas, and just pull this down a little bit just to add some yellow in. And then on the black areas there, I'm just going to pull this down just to add some yellow in the black areas there. So again, you can see what we're doing. We're just bringing out them yellows, just making everything a little bit more warmer and bringing out detail around the shadowed areas there. So let's move on to the color mixer, and we're going to have a little bit of a play here. So the hue on the red, I'm going to push that up to 23. I'm going to take out some of the orange there, and I'm going to take out some of the yellow as well. And it's all about just trying to balance these colors and get some different tones working for our favor. So let's bring these up to, I think I pushed them to around 75, around that mark, and then the aqua, counterbalance that and just bring that down to minus 70. Let's take some of this blue out so it's more in the aqua range to around minus 27. Same with the purple, probably go a little bit more to around there, and then the magenta around this mark here, 35. So that just, you can see we're just shifting the balance a little bit more. So now there's a fun part when we start looking at the saturations and what we can do with them. So let's push the reds up, let's push the oranges up a little bit to around there, and then start stripping some of this color away so we don't over process the colors there. Same with these greens, let's bring them a little bit more, and the aquas as well. Minus 66, 65, I think looks good. And then let's move on to the luminance of the brightness. Let's just bring this down a little bit to around there. Minus 16 looks good. And then let's bring the oranges up. And let's bring the yellows down to about -20. And the green and the aqua, I want to bring them down quite a bit. So I'd say around 60, 65, around that mark. Maybe the aqua's a little bit more to around there. And then let's push the blues up a little bit to about there. That looks pretty good. So you can see what we've done with the colors. We've really shifted everything over, and you can see what that's done. It's just given us a little bit more of a warmer image, taking away some of that green. So by all means, you can tweak this, and also you can click on these little tools here and just click and drag just to really fine tune everything. So feel free to do that as well. And depending on your image, you really need to just tweak these, and there's only a couple of stops, okay? So let's move on to the color grading, and let's start with the shadows. So on the shadows, I'm going to put a hue. I'm going to put a hue in of around 190, a saturation between 10 and 15. So I'll put 12 in. Let's push the blending all the way up to 100 because I want to also put some color into the highlights. So I'm going to put a saturation of 164. Sorry, a hue of 164 and a saturation about 25. It's going to give us some nice aqua colors in there just to cool down some of that orange and yellow a little bit, which is quite nice. And again, you can play with this blending mode if you want to, depending on the effect that you want. This can be a little bit warmer, this can be a little bit cooler, so just change it to your liking. I would say for this picture about here, probably about 88, looks pretty good. So let's come down and let's add some sharpening. So, and there's pretty good. Keep it at 1 for the radius, detail at 25, and I'm just going to add some noise reduction into this, so around 15, just to give it a little bit of a kick. And same with the color as well. I think I'd probably do it around 15, 16. Again, just because of the amount of work we've done, we just want to take some of that noise away. And coming down, you could, if you wanted to, add a vignette to this as well, depending on your image. My image has got quite dark areas around the edges, so it doesn't really need a vignette. You can add one just to give it a little bit of kick if you wanted to. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I think we just bring these highlights up a little bit there. And also as well, if you wanted to, you could actually just introduce a little bit of grain, and that's just going to bind everything together. It's quite a nice way of being able to just get all the colors and all the tones and just kind of merge them together a little bit. So if we look, that is the finished process. So the majority of this is done with the color mixer and then adding color into the color grade. But the trick is stripping away these colors here, because you can see as I take this away, you can see that's the color that we've done, and these are all the tones that we've corrected, as well as the white balance. So you can see this is quite an important step. So if you look at the before and after, you can see there it gives you this lovely cinematic look, which can work really, really well for street photography. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.